we're good. Okay. So welcome everybody to September Support Group. Is this anybody's first group? Welcome. Oh, great. Yay. Okay, good. So you all, some of us are on camera right now. You're on camera right now. I'm like, who's on camera right now? So this is for people online that can't be here, obviously. So we try to record everything so that they can still join us online. So I'm Emily. I'm one of the dietitians here, also the bariatric program manager here. So we're actively recruiting another dietitian. Jenny is still our dietitian here. And then we have Brianna. Brianna is our new social worker. We're so excited to have her.
Yes.
Today is literally her first day here with us. She's been at LMC for 7 years, so she's not new to LMC. But we're super excited to have her here, obviously. And she stayed all day to be here. I did give her the option, and she chose to come, so that's cool. So typically what we like to do is kind of go around the room. Those of you that have been here before, obviously you know this, but go around the room, introduce yourselves. If you want to say something about yourself, you want to tell us about your progress, or you just want to tell us a non-scale victory, or anything you want to say, you can share that with us. Does anybody want to get started?
I will.
Great.
I'm Tony. My surgery is scheduled for October 4th, and I'm pretty anxious to get it over with and get it started.
Yeah, sure.
Welcome.
Glad you're here.
I'm Tiffany. I had the gastric sleeve in July of last year, and I'm down 111 pounds.
That's awesome. Come on in and
I'm Lucy. I had 4 months post-op, had a surgery in April. I've lost, since surgery, 51 pounds. Since the very beginning, when I started the program, almost 80 pounds.
Fantastic. I'm going to pause real quick too. Trisha's over here taking protein orders, so we're going to give about 10-15 minutes for that. If any of y'all are interested in protein, just let us stick up your hand. She'll give you an order sheet. If not, that's fine too, but just want to let you know that she's over here to do that. So we'll call it at like 6:15. That's it. Just give everybody a chance. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm Talaya, and I had the gastric sleeve on July 26th, and so far I've lost 36 pounds.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
That's great.
I'm Lindsay, and I had the gastric bypass April 26th, and I'm down 80 pounds so far.
Fantastic.
I'm Lauren. I had the sleeve in January 19th, but since I started, I hit 75 pounds, which I'm thrilled over.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
Feels so much better.
So awesome.
I'm Willie Ed, and I had gastric sleeve on July 21st. And I've lost, since I started, almost 40 pounds.
That's great.
My name's Carol. I had the gastric bypass in November of last year. I'm down 70 pounds, and I have a non-scale victory. My husband and I go to car shows, and I did not get winded the first time.
Awesome. Good for you. That's great.
Hazel Jackson. I had the gastric sleeve and a hiatal hernia on December 26, 2019. I threw the scale away, so because I didn't want to look at what I'm weighing or what I lost or what I didn't lose or anything. So I literally threw the scale away.
There you go.
Good for you.
You look great, Miss Jen.
I'm Jen. I just had the sleeve done August 17th. I'm still drained. I can't find my energy, but I've lost 21, I think, since surgery, and 40 since the 1st of June. So,
Good. Very good.
It's only just begun.
yeah, I'm just tired though, because I already went back to work like beginning of the week, or last week, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Leanna, and this is my 6 month before I can schedule for, so I haven't even had it yet, but.
Okay.
And her and I met online, and we're just seeing each other tonight for the first time.
Oh,
We're in the bariatric support group.
That's cool. Very good. Very good.
So we're gonna be buddies.
Yeah. Good.
My name is Cindy. I had the sleeve in November of last year, and I've lost 87 pounds so far.
Fantastic, girl. Good.
I'm
name is Mike. I had the sleeve, back bariatric sleeve, June 7th. I've lost 65 pounds and I'm stuck for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Russ. I have 10 months post-op with a gastric sleeve, down 130-ish. Feel good. Lots of non-scale victories, but that's for another time. Basically, just feeling good, glad to be here.
Very good.
Hi, I'm Scotty, and October 12th will be a year since I had the sleeve. I'm down 117 pounds and feel wonderful. I love exercise now. I used to hate it. I mean, that didn't even cross my mind that I was going to exercise, and that's all I do now.
Very good.
Yeah, I really love it, and have so much more energy. It's just amazing to me. And to think about how much extra weight I was carrying on me is just unbelievable at this point.
Absolutely. Very nice, very nice.
I'm Amanda. I had my surgery in March, gastric sleeve, and I am down 92 pounds.
Very good. And about to be down to gallbladder, right?
Down to being a gallbladder.
Hey, so I'm Jeff. Hopefully I'll have the sleeve before November. And I've had a hernia repaired as well as the tip procedure to get ready for the sleeve. So hopefully that'll be very soon.
If you made it through those, you'd be good, right?
Yeah.
Those are tough.
Those are tough, but it's all good.
Very good, very good. All right, well, welcome everyone. Like I said, thanks for sharing all those stories. I think it's super helpful for everyone to just be able to share their own stories and kind of, sometimes we're our own worst critics. Like, we're going to talk about self-talk today, and so I think just listening to everyone's story is super helpful in that regard. It's easy to get caught up. We talked about social media last month and comparing yourself and different things like that. So sometimes just hearing other people and kind of stories and things like that is nice for you. So
Miss, who came in late, what's your name? She's my friend, so I can get on her. What's your name, Miss?
Beth Einson. And I had a gastric sleeve surgery like 4 years ago.
Very nice. Well, we are glad you're here.
Well, thank you.
This is Brandon, our new social worker.
Hello.
Okay. I think we're good. If no one else wants an order, no one else is coming in, so everyone good on protein. Okay. Thank you very much, Trish. Okay.
Thanks, Trish.
So we're going to talk about a couple of things tonight, but first thing I'm going to touch on, and then Jenny will chime in too about self-talk, but we thought we'd kind of combine these two topics. So mindful eating is something we could talk about, I think, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, right? Because we talk about changing relationship with food, we talk about different things, and like I said, I think we could talk about it till we were blue in the face, probably. So I'm going to talk about that first, and then Jenny will talk about kind of the negative self-talk piece. But I thought this was kind of interesting here. This is from a article I was reading, and this lady wrote a book called Mindful Eating: The Art of Presence While You Eat. So it says mindful eating, paying attention to our food on purpose, moment by moment, without judgment, is an approach to food that focuses on individuals' sensual awareness of the food and their experience of the food. Okay? It has little to do with calories, carbohydrates, fat, or protein. The purpose of mindful eating is not to lose weight, although it is highly likely that those who adopt this style of eating will lose weight. The intention is to help individuals savor the moment and the food and encourage their full presence for the eating experience. Right, so that's like loaded, I think, with information, right? So I think a lot of times we're just like enthralled by like weight loss, right? Like that's what we're always concerned about, what the scale says and measuring our success and all those things. But sometimes I think if we take a step back and look at what are we eating for, right? Anybody like stress eat? Anybody eat because they love food, right? Like all of those things, right? So I think like when we take a sit back at food and we look at what food does for us, that makes us obviously more mindful of what we're doing. So it's it's less about being on a diet and being told you can't have things because you need to lose weight. It's more so like, how am I fueling myself? And that's where I think mindful eating comes in, is when you think about what you're actually getting from your food. And I think that's when you get to the point where you get past some of those humps. We were talking about that today. It's just you're 10 months into your journey. So I saw him in the clinic today. We're just talking through the different parts of your journey and where you get to with your life. And so that's where I think mindful eating comes in. So I tell people even before surgery, this is really where you have to do the work, right? Because if you look at this like it is a diet, you're never going to get to this mindful eating place, right? Anybody identify with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, in the beginning, I think sometimes it can very much, like that first appointment, I think with us, like it can be pretty overwhelming. Like you need to do this, that, and the other before you have surgery, right? You need to start working on those things. But the more you do them, the more mindful you become, you change that relationship. So just a couple of steps for mindful eating. Start by recognizing whether you're hungry before you begin eating. So I printed this hunger scale. I like this hunger scale. I think that it serves a couple of different purposes, but if you look at this hunger scale, basically 1 to 3 means you're pretty, like you're starved. Ravenous almost, kind of where you don't want to get. 4 to 6 is kind of where you want to be when you're actually feeling hunger, like you feel a sensation of hunger, your stomach's trying to rumble in a little bit, but you're not to the point where you're going to pass out if you don't have something to eat right away, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, those are where you're actually probably not hungry, but you may be like triggered by a food or a behavior, or there may be, a social setting, going to a wedding or things like that, right? So those are real life experience. So I like to use this just to kind of assess, okay, what kind of hunger do you experience? Our goal really is that you stay in that 4 to 6 range, right? Like you don't ever get extremely full and you don't ever get way too hungry. Because if we get extremely full, what happens next?
You eat too much.
Well, if we eat too much, then what happens to the next meal?
You don't want it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you skip it typically, right? And then you start this vicious cycle of like, I'm at 10 and I'm at 1 and I'm at 10 and I'm at 1 and I can't ever get between that 4 to 6 mark. But when you set that meal pattern for yourself every 3-4 hours, you are staying regimented with what you're having and you have a schedule for yourself, you can stay between that 4 and 6, which helps you become a lot more mindful of what you're eating, right? So the next one says don't wait until you're famished, because obviously a couple things happen when we get to that 1, 2, 3 place. Is you're so hungry, right? Your blood sugar's probably dropping and you're feeling like you could eat everything in sight, right? And typically if your blood sugar's dropping, you want sugar, right? And what do we have in America? We have a plenty full of sugar and junk, right? And so all those trigger foods start to come into play, right? And so not only can you not fill up quickly or fill up enough, but you're filling up on the wrong things, right? So then you get back in that vicious cycle again, okay? Choose food that will satisfy both your body and your mind. So this is not about eating plain boiled chicken and broccoli with no seasoning, okay? Like that is boring, right?
Yes.
You can still have flavor to your food. I would encourage you to have flavor in your food, okay? Or else you would get really, really, really bored. And now some people would argue, I used to work with a physician that would say, hey, it's good for people to get bored with their food. And I was like, why would you say that? Like I'm telling people every day, like don't get bored, because if you get bored, like you're just gonna get, complacent and then you're gonna go off the deep end. And she said, well, if you get bored, then you don't think about food as much. I thought, well, okay, well, I guess if you ever get to that place, right? I think that's tough,
maybe
right?
a typical eater, but not.
I think that's tough to ever get to that place, but I guess some people do get to that place. But anyway, like I said, food can still taste good. It's smaller quantities. It's, hey, what am I going to put in my mouth first, right? Like, what is going to fill me first? What do I need first, so that then you can move on past other things, okay? Set the table and limit distractions. This is a big one, I think, because I think we're in such a hurry. Like, we eat in our car, we eat at our desk really quick while we're working, or, we wait until we actually get hungry and we stop by fast food and we make the best decision we can, but probably still not the best decision we could have made. So that's a big one. Also, like if you sit down and you think about it, if you sit down in front of a TV, you can eat so much more while you're not paying attention, right? But if you sat down at a table by yourself, you wouldn't eat as much as you would eat in front of a TV, right? Because it's mindless. You're occupied with something else. You're thinking about something else. Eat when you're sitting down, right? Because another thing we can do is just stand there and graze. You just grab and grab and grab, not think too much about it, right? Take a few breaths and center yourself before you begin eating. So just kind of like get in the moment per se, right? Like take a moment, relax, kind of think about what you're about to do. Don't make it, just a grab and go kind of thing. I talked about this in my class this morning, and a gentleman said, well, I tend to grab beef jerky like when I'm hungry. That's a grazer, right? Because he's just kind of grabbing and going. He's not really thinking through it. So I challenge him to sit down, have your meal, right? Because that's how you're going to be mindful. Separate liquids and solids by at least 30 minutes. So sometimes surgery will tell you you can't do this anyway, but I think this is a big thing long term for people as far as how much you can tolerate, right?
Feels the hardest.
It's very hard. I totally agree with you. It is absolutely very hard, but what we see over time, and Jenny can chime in here too, but I tend to see is that you can actually get more volume in over time. You start drinking with your meals, you're going to start eating more. You're also going to get hungry faster. I mean, there's a lot of things that play into that. So I think being diligent and letting yourself fill up on food is super important versus filling up on that liquid. Because that also makes you want to become a grazer. If you only get a little bit in at a time because you did eat and drink at the same time and you happen to fill up on liquids, well then an hour later you're hungry again. Okay?
Lori, I think that point is probably not emphasized or explained enough.
Yeah.
That was one of my questions about, my wife asked me, why can't you drink with your meal? I'm like, well, I was told not to.
Yeah.
But really, sometimes, you can have a swallow or two, but the bulk of your drinking needs to be outside of that, obviously, but
yeah.
Why? Is it washing, is it sliding food down, or is it just filling up more?
Well, so I think two things can happen there. It can move that food through faster, but sometimes you fill up on that liquid so fast that you didn't really get a lot of food. The old dieting trick was always drink a cup of water before you eat because you're going to eat less. Well, when you have a much smaller stomach, we're talking 20%. You filled it up with fluid. You get a tiny bit of volume. That volume's going to pass quick. You filled up on fluid, and then you're coming back for more food later. And before you know it, like I said, you've gotten into this grazing pattern where you're just getting a little bit all day long. So, again, that's a tricky one that surgery won't always tell you can't do.
Right.
Sometimes people are like, no, I cannot eat and drink at the same time. It makes me so sick. But other times people are like, yeah, it's fine, no problem, so I can do it. Well, you can technically do it, right? You can technically eat whatever you wanted to, right? But that doesn't mean that you're going to keep your weight off. So, okay? Chew each bite of food 20 to 30 times. I think that's tough. I think that's really tough, right?
Yes.
Especially when you're only getting a little bit at a time. So you're like, I have to chew this literally until it dissolves in my mouth. Kind of, sometimes.
I've noticed with the liquid stage though, even with oatmeal, it's almost impossible to do some of that.
So yeah, in some stages like that it would be. But if you were chewing up a piece of chicken and you chewed it 20, 30 times, it still isn't going to dissolve in your mouth. It is still going to go down as a chunk. But what it makes you do is it makes you slow down and be super mindful of what you're doing. Because if you eat too fast, you get full really fast. You get sick sometimes, and then next thing you know, you're either getting sick or you have pain and you got to let it go, and then maybe you're going to come back an hour later and finish your food. Again, turned into a grazer.
You know what I heard someone say that actually really helped me, it was kind of an epiphany moment, is that, obviously on some level we all enjoy food, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have any taste buds in your stomach, right? The taste buds are in your mouth.
Yeah.
So the longer you enjoy the food, right, the more satisfied and satiated you feel. And I wasn't sure that I believed that, but I do believe that now. And if I'm having something, especially something I really enjoy, that I know that I'm going to want more of than I need to have, I do try and eat it more slowly. And I don't feel as deprived. I don't know if that's in my head or not, but it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, it works, right?
So because ultimately it's not the swallowing, it's not the food in my stomach that is giving me the pleasure that I'm looking for from really good, delicious food or food that I can't have all the time. So I, especially when I'm having something really tasty, try and chew on it as long as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that it's helped me a lot.
Yeah.
It's helped me a lot.
Very good. Hey, you want to stand right there and then have a seat? Oh, did she take those nuts?
think she did it.
Then I asked
Thank you so
if
much.
she did.
From the nurse's station? I don't know. She's gonna grab you one. Okay, let's see. And then, push your plate forward or get up from the table as soon as you feel satisfied, and do not return to the table to finish your food. That's one of the big things that I hear. People sit down and they eat a little bit and they're like, well, I couldn't finish it all at one time, so I'll go back to it later. Do not go back to it, right? Dr. Antonetti always used to say in his seminars when we had him in person, he would always say, you know, you can have a bag of chips after you have surgery. And people will be like, how in the world could you finish a bag of chips before, or, you know, after you have surgery? How do you have the capacity to do so? Just do a little bit all day long, right? And so the same thing happens here is like, you can have that meal, right? And then you can't eat it all, so you're like, I'll come back and get it. Or a lot of people do this with food, I think, like eating out. They're like, well, I couldn't eat all that, so I came home and I ate it about 2 hours later. But why'd you eat it? Like, did you really feel hungry, or did you just want to finish it, right? Because if you just wanted to finish it, right, it's right here. Because if you just wanted to finish it, did you take away any calories that you would have had before surgery? Nope, right?
Well, on your thing, we're in a culture where we are taught from the moment we are babies.
Yeah.
You eat what's in front of you. You
Yeah.
eat all of what's in front of you.
Sure.
If you don't eat it, you have to come back and finish it.
Sure, I get that. Clean your plate, you know, all that
Everything
stuff.
else.
Yeah, I totally get that. That's why I think eating off a smaller plate, prepping your own meals, because you don't put yourself in that situation.
Oh, yes.
My dad is 100% that. Like, it drives him crazy to watch my kids eat, and if they have food. I'll say, my son will be like, Mommy, I'm finished. And he'll say, well, it's only like 3 more bites. No, you can be finished. But please understand that if you're finished right now, you do not get anything else. You don't get a snack later, right? But you can absolutely get up from the table. That's fine, right? So it's just kind of reprogramming yourself too. So I think this all relates. Like if you think about all these things that we've been taught, and I think about the cost of food. I hear a lot of times like it's expensive to eat healthy, right? It's expensive to have health issues too, right?
Yes.
So, you know, I think all of these things we can say, yeah, this is how we've been. Yeah, it absolutely has been. In our culture, the culture that we live in right now, it's absolutely drilled into us that we have to do it this way, right? And we have to be kind of against that, right? So that's the tough part about it, is just kind of changing that whole mentality and knowing that you might be the only one that changes it. I mean, besides the people in this room, obviously, right? But there may be family members around you, there may be friends around you that they frown that you do that. You know, they frown on you for doing that, things like that.
Small thing to add to this might be the best example, but I knew since my surgery, my stomach is small, I just ate less, period. Before surgery, if I went to pizza and order a large pizza, I could eat 4 slices of pizza in one sitting.
Sure. Right.
The doctor removed 75% of my stomach. That means, if you do the math, I'll eat 1 or 2 slices of pizza. Well, guess what? If I don't do this a lot, but if I order a pizza, guess what? I only even tried. I took the pizza and I got home. I put 2 slices on the plate, put the rest of the pizza in the refrigerator. I only bothered to try to eat 1 or 2 slices of pizza in one sitting.
Yeah.
The rest of the pizza is already in the refrigerator. I know I should be following a diet, but I just eat less, period. I mean, when I go to a restaurant, like one of my favorite dinners is a salmon dinner with vegetables and a salad. Well, when I placed my order, I told the waiter, look, put the salad in the go box. I can't eat it now. Put it in the go box. When I started eat half the salmon and half the vegetables. I told don't bring me bread. I'll drink a water. I keep a case of water and let's say I'm going out to eat. I'll just drink a bottle of water on the way to the restaurant because they say 30 minutes before meals. So I'll drink the bottle of water. When I sit down at the restaurant, you know, I'm not getting bread. I'm taking a salad to go. I'm eating half a salmon and vegetables, and I'm taking the rest to go. I'm taking two to go boxes home. So I really just plan for that. I mean, I know it's not the best example, but I just plan to eat less, period.
Yeah. So I think that's good. Is like So I always say, like on these longer days, like when we're here for 12 hours, so we end up eating dinner here a lot of times, and so I could eat the same thing for lunch and dinner. That's fine, but I would never put them in the same container. The reason I would never put them in the same container, because if I was hungry enough at lunch, I could eat more, right?
Yeah.
So like it's planning again. Like if I don't have more in my container than I can eat, then like that's it. That's all I'm gonna have. You can train yourself to do that. So that's where I think measuring becomes really important, planning, all that good stuff, because you don't want to push yourself to the limit, really, right? Like you don't want to know that you could eat 4 slices of pizza, right? So those are the things that I think you plan ahead and you think about, and like I said, all these things help with that too. So, and last thing was plan your meals like a schedule, and we talked about that. But just I'm a big believer in, having set times that you have, and it's not going to be perfect every day, but you have set times that you get food in. Food's not your afterthought; it's your first thought, right? So, any other questions, comments about the mindful eating piece of it?
Just one.
Yeah.
And I think that, the other thing for people to keep in mind that have recently had surgery or are going into it is all this stuff, it takes time for it to feel, I don't want to say normal, I guess typical would be the better way to put it, like, as an example, it's been 4 years, when I stop eating and I put down my fork, one of my kids will immediately be like, are you done? Do you want me to take your plate? And they'll take it into the kitchen. But I had to kind of train that, right? Like I had to, in the beginning, ask them, okay, would you take my plate because I'm done and I don't want to eat anymore. Now they ask me, or when I go to a restaurant and I ask them beforehand just to give me a half order, and sometimes they'll just give you a half order and only charge you half, and the other times they'll put it in a to-go box, and then I don't have to feel, what I mean? It felt weird, I guess, at first, or atypical,
Sure.
better, but now it doesn't. I mean, it's just what I do, and so many people are eating in so many different ways now. People hardly even really bat an eye. And I think we think that everybody knows that we're doing something that's not like everyone else, and they don't know, and they don't care.
Yeah.
You gotta do what you want to do.
I'm not exactly 100% open that I had surgery. That people, you see a big guy like me, you think, oh, this guy's gonna eat a big 20-ounce T-bone steak or whatever. That something I eat, I'll order off the kids menu, and I'll just say to people, I'm not very hungry or whatever, or I ate not too long ago or something, or I'll just lie and say, well, I actually have a leftover pizza in my refrigerator that I want to finish off. Because, I mean, I don't know if y'all know this, but me being male, that I had weight loss surgery, I see that I meet very few males that have weight loss surgery, so I feel I'm not as comfortable with being open about it. So if people see me eat less, I'll be honest, I just lie and say I'm not very hungry, or I actually got a big dish at home, that I cooked, that I want to leave space for that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own journey. I think you can do,
I was just going to add, I like that thought, because I run into, that was one of the biggest hurdles to going out to eat. And I tried ordering off the kids' menu, and the food is terrible. So, it's worth it to me to get something that tastes good, even though I can't eat it all.
Right.
And that's the discipline you learn. You're learning this journey. It's not easy.
Right.
You're spending, $15, $20, $25 on a dinner.
Right.
The culture is, damn it, I'm going to eat it all.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with saving half your steak and your or your vegetables or your salad or whatever, and take it with you, or just leave it.
And it gets easier. Like, you
It
don't
does
feel
it
different.
absolutely
You
does
don't
get
feel.
easier.
I mean, at this
It's
point
not
now, I
an
don't
easy
even-
thing for those that are just starting this process. It's not an easy.
Right.
When I went through the children's menu, thinking I'll save some money, but the food pleasures in the
That's
eating,
right.
and
Taste
that's.
buds are
I'm glad you all said that, because I've been blessed in my life. I've never really been overwhelmed by any task at all. Things always kind of came pretty easy, or I just kind of just didn't create obstacles for myself. But since I started this has been absolutely overwhelming to me as to how I'm going to navigate this entire lifestyle change, because I only know one thing.
That's right.
All of my social activities with when I was at work, at church, my family, everything we do socially revolves around eating.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go out. For Labor Day, we didn't go. We went and have breakfast. With some friends and whatnot. And what I've been trying to figure out is, like, how do I navigate this? Because I just love food. I know I can't just stop loving food. How does that work? You know what I mean? For me afterwards.
Something that I should be doing is you should be the king of to-go boxes, and in the trunk of your car keep like a cooler or a thermos where you only eat a small portion, and you bring to-go boxes with you, and you put it in the Tupperware things and put it in the trunk of your car, and it's so eat the amount that your new stomach can have, and you can take the rest home with you to finish it later. That's something I learned to do. That
Yeah.
And it's a lot of mental work before.
Yeah.
It is.
You have to like really prepare yourself, like, well, I know Susie's having a barbecue, but you know, this is in my like liquid stage. Maybe I just won't make it to the barbecue this time. Like, prepare yourself mentally until you're ready to be around those smells, those foods.
Yeah.
Because it is very difficult at first to like navigate those first few weeks, figuring out what situations you can put yourself in and be strong enough to like handle that emotionally, mentally, and like physically, not like try to eat it. That was very difficult for me.
I was gonna say, I haven't had any problems with that, thankfully. What I'm having problems with is knowing before, if you got a bowl of soup, you got a bowl of soup. Now, I know I can't handle the little bit. So that's been the main thing with me, is I think it's more mental, and I think I told you about that. It's like, I know I can only have this, my body only handles this, but you still go and get a bowl of soup. But the other thing of people, I was around people that were drinking, and I didn't even have so I guess I feel lucky for that, because I was like, oh, you guys can have it,
And I think you gotta figure out why you're there. You know, like if it's like ministry stuff, why are you there? You're there to help them, to talk to them. It's not about the food. You know, why do you go out with your wife? You know, you go out to encourage her and love her and express some things. It's not all about, I'm gonna eat this big meal. You know, I always tell people food becomes less. People, activities, life becomes more,
Well, and I agree with you there, because I told myself that I was not going to give up the social activities.
Yeah,
And
of
I
course.
didn't. And I just said I was going to handle it a little bit differently. And I still enjoy cooking for my family.
Yeah.
And I eat just a little bit of what I cook for my family. But I enjoy, making Easter dinner, and I enjoy doing Thanksgiving dinner, and I enjoy spending time with my friends. And I was not going to give that up.
Right.
I was going to figure out how to do that without being a detriment to myself.
Sure.
And from the very beginning, I said that, and I put myself in those situations with a plan.
Yeah.
So I knew how to handle it. I knew what I was going to do. I planned ahead for what I was going to do, but I made myself go those places
Sure.
because I wanted to. I wanted to still have those outlets.
Because we do this to make our lives better, not to make it,
Right.
not to cut it out. I was gonna say too, again, 4 years ago was when I had my surgery, so my husband and I went to Charleston this weekend, and we eat at all these restaurants that we like, right? So we stay at the Homewood Suites, and at the end of the weekend, we have a cooler full of half of all the meals that I've had. I mean, honest to God, we do, and we bring all that food home, and our kids are happy to see us come home. Like, woo-hoo! It really, that's what I do, is I get everything halved. And I just, because we're having our 3 consistent meals, I don't really even go in the fridge and, eat anything. And I had desserts and I had all those things, but I had 2 bites, we shared things. And so it's changed over time. Now, that doesn't mean that I was always that successful in the beginning. In the beginning, it was easier because I was terrified of hurting myself, right? That first year is not easy, but I was terrified that something could happen. If I overate or things of that nature. But yeah, it just, if you keep trying and you keep going, it just becomes typical, and you realize that nobody else is looking at you or thinking about what you're eating or what you're doing or not doing. Some people will say things like, let's say that you have surgery and you lose a ton of weight. I was talking about last week that my mom had surgery, and the family would come to me and be like, "Is your mom sick?" I'm like, "No, she's not sick. Why didn't you ask her that when she weighed 400 pounds?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You never said a word to her when she had to be pushed around in a wheelchair, and now she's 150 pounds and you're concerned that she's sick, you know, so those kind of things happen. But again, everything normalizes, you know.
There's one thing I want to add. I'm actually surprised how much people don't notice how much less I eat. I'm just, when there's a buffet or a dinner thing, beforehand, if I got 2 or 3 plates, if I went to the buffet 2 or 3 times, now I'm just going one time where I would get small portions. I'm actually surprised. I think that we're too subconscious about it.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But
yeah.
you'd be surprised how much, some people might notice and won't say anything, but some people might not notice at all that you're not eating much. So I think some of it is mental. It's, like I said before, a lot of it is mental that you'd be surprised people won't notice.
Like mentally figure out your triggers first and know how you're gonna like handle that situation. Of course you don't know everything until you're put in the situation.
Yeah.
But at least preparing yourself that way first, you can avoid certain situations if you need to while you're healing mentally and physically.
Yeah.
You ready to just plan.
Now, my family likes to go to like buffets and things like this. Well, some of the buffets we go to and everything else, instead of you having to pay the full price and everything else, they got a scale for people who take weight. You just sit there, you tell them that you only want to buy that and eat that. They'll let you sit there and put your plate in, weigh it, and you pay less, and you have how much you can eat on your plate. And you are eating with your family. And no one's looking at you funny, because I mean, a lot of things like, what do you call it, Golden Corral will let you do that. Some Chinese places let you do that. Well, they'll let you weigh your food and everything else, and what you get what you want. But you're still eating with your family.
I think the biggest thing what everyone has said here is plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, just plan.
Yep.
I bought a little lunch bag because I have lots of little kids and we go constantly, whether it's sports or church or I sell real estate. I pack that bag every morning with things I know I can have. So like a Greek yogurt, like a single cup of Greek yogurt. I do like a turkey stick, a cheese stick, a protein shake, things I know, because it would be so easy for me to go hit Chick-fil-A real quick because we only had 20 minutes, you know, and I just keep a little freezer pack and I keep it in my car. It goes, everybody at the ball field knows that bag's always going to be right by me, you know, with the stuff I can have. Popcorn has been one of my things, but I do the very small, you know, little individual bags, and that's kind of like my treat in the afternoon. It's got 80 calories in it, and it does something that chewing, you know, for me. But maybe you'll find, one thing too I wanted to mention when you were talking is, I never thought pre-surgery that I, post-surgery, would be able to consume so much less and be satisfied. And someone said, you know, you won't get it, you won't understand until after surgery, like that this can really happen. And just kind of trusting that process, that they are physically taking away so much of your stomach that you'll only have so much left to, you know, be able to put in it, and you will feel satisfied. You will be able to function and operate on so much less and feel so much better, you know, like doing it.
Those revelations come early on, like in phase 1, when you get that quarter cup of soup in that bowl, you're looking at it, it's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not gonna
you're used to
live
that
off
being
this.
that big bowl of soup, you know, the whole can being one serving, and now you're down to a quarter cup, but when you finish with it, you learn. That's all it takes to, that's how my stomach can hold. It's a process. You learn, you change your relationship, and I just have to encourage you.
But I
It's a
found
process.
that, you know, at home, if I do the weighing of, you know, the different things that I eat at home, and I find that even though I weigh stuff, when I sit to eat, I can't eat it all.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm thinking like, am I getting enough in or what? But then that also helps me when I go out somewhere. I kind of know how much I can put on my plate that I would actually eat. So that helps me to do the weighing, practice the weighing at home. And when you're out, then you would know, you know, exactly how much you can tolerate. So that helps a lot as well.
I think one of the things that really helped me, and if you could have been here for the last meeting, we talked about support of your family, and you talking about your socializing and your church groups and everything. And we talked about, and you're gonna have to feel out how this works for you, whether you're gonna hide the fact that you're having the surgery, or you're gonna let as many people know that you associate with that you had the surgery. They're gonna be behind you, or they're not your friends. If they're asking you, well, how come that's all you're eating? They ain't your friends. I think that's one of the biggest things, and your family, your close family, they need to get behind you.
Because we
It's a
don't
good
want to have
place
to
to
go
come
have
though,
our.
right?
I know, that's why I'm
Right?
here.
I love her too, it's great, right? So, yeah.
No, you need a tape recorder.
You're not alone, that's
I
right.
do have a question.
Sure.
So we're talking about mindful eating and the hunger scale and stuff. I'm not hungry. I have not been hungry since surgery.
Yeah.
And now I'm like 15 weeks out.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I know I'm supposed to eat 2 ounces of protein, get my 20 grams, and it's like, well, what if I only get 1 ounce? Am I supposed to go back 30 minutes and eat the other?
No, I mean, if you fill up on that, I would say no, don't go back to it. Because right now, I think the important thing early on is establish a pattern. Because if hunger does come back, or you start to have blood sugar fluctuations, things like that people experience long term, you want to make sure you have a regimen. Like, it's just second nature to you, right? Like, it's second nature that you're going to have breakfast and lunch and dinner.
But what
and
if,
you're
like,
gonna get those things
if I
in.
did that, I would not get enough protein in? If I ate 3 meals and I only ate
I
1
think she's speaking physiologically, right? Like, what does it do physiologically?
Yeah, like
for
I
you?
would only get like, 30 or 40 grams of protein.
Your
versus
hunger doesn't really come back until like 8-9 months.
Okay.
And removing, especially with the sleeve, removing that bottom part where some of those hormones are made, your hunger takes that dip, So it's getting in that routine and really having that routine and then feeling that fullness, I'm full, and then stopping. And then that's why we come in and ask you all those questions. How much are you getting? How much protein? To make sure that you know what 60 grams looks
Yeah.
like.
So like if you're satisfied at your like half of the protein or whatever on your plate, you just don't eat it and you move on to the next meal later?
Yeah, you move on and then you supplement as you need.
Okay.
Maybe you have a little half a protein shake and that's 15 grams.
Right.
Or a little yogurt that, is 10, they can go
Mine
anywhere
are
from 10 to
15, those triple
25.
Wacos, yeah.
Yeah, there's some that go up,
And at that stage, I relied heavily still on protein shakes.
Yeah, I
Maybe like
drink
half
that
in the
one
morning and half in the afternoon to be able to spread that 30 out. Because I was like you, I couldn't really do a ton of protein in the beginning, at my meals, but I knew they were gonna fuss at me if I didn't.
I mean, I make sure I get
Fussers.
60 in, but it's just,
Yeah, it's hard. to
it's
eat
like
that
5
much.
or 6 meals a day because I can't eat
So
it all at
I think a
once.
lot of times for a lot of people it ends up being like 3 meals and then 2 snacks in between. Usually like plan and be intentional because you technically could say, hey, I'm not hungry, so I'm gonna go 6 hours without eating. But again, staying on top of that pattern and also being able to meet your needs, that's why you establish that pattern. Now, do I want somebody to pick up food every 2 hours just because they need to pick up food every No. I say that 3 to 4, right? So if you wake up at 8, or if you eat breakfast at 8 and you have lunch at 12, some people don't need a snack in between there. But you go like 4 or 5, then like you need to plan something in between. So I think being intentional about planning, even though you don't have necessarily physical hunger, you would have blood sugar fluctuations by that 3 to 4 hour mark.
And the fusion vitamins 4 times a day, that's gonna be forever?
Depends on which ones you do. So if you do the chewable ones,
Yeah.
you do the fusion ones, you can do 2 in the morning and 2 at night.
But I mean, that's gonna be forever now?
Yeah, that's the goal, is that you take vitamins forever. If you don't, you can change to a capsule version, but you would still, if you do a capsule, capsules have all your iron in them, and so you have to separate when you take calcium. So calcium has to be separated from that.
So that's what I do. I take a multivitamin in the morning, this capsule, and then I take 2 calcium at night.
Is it 2 or 4?
I take 2.
Depends. It depends. So it's 1,200 to 1,500 milligrams is the recommendation. But that, I mean, some people are supplementing protein shakes. People are getting dairy products in. If you get no dairy at all, then you would need to do that 1,200 to 1,500.
Oh, okay. I've been taking 4.
But but if you're getting some, then you can usually back off that a little bit, get 600 to 800, something like that. So
I was
most
gonna
people
say I
aren't
had
gonna
those
do that.
chewables and I called y'all because I couldn't do them. As soon as they hit my stomach, I was like,
Yeah, I'm like you on the chewables. I was able to go to a multivitamin and everything else, but I kind of split up on my vitamins, like some in the morning, some in the evening. That way
So
I don't-
iron and calcium are the two that you really have to separate.
I know.
And then if you're taking more than 600 milligrams of calcium, you need to separate that too, because you don't absorb more than 600 at one time.
Can't take it all. The only thing that I would add to the mindful eating is, you know, when you take something off your plate, and I hear this occasionally, people say, well, yes, then I eat more in an hour. And, you know, you've got to keep to that, and you mentioned that, but you got to keep to those regular meals. I always say, you know, put it away for the next meal or throw it away.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't just eat, you could eat every single hour, you know, these big meals or whatever, whether you make them at home or you go out. So the
But even
mind-
sitting there talking to your wife, if you're done eating in 5-10 minutes, there goes that hand.
Yes, yeah,
If you don't put it away or get up or
Yes.
put it in the sink or whatever,
Exactly.
it's real easy. The body, that fullness doesn't stay with you too long. For me anyway.
Yeah,
That you can go back.
You're ready to go.
You're ready to get something else if
Yeah.
it's there.
yeah.
So
yeah.
those habits,
Yeah.
those
That's why some of these comments about the, you know, take out things, like put it away.
Yeah.
If you leave it on your plate and say, I'm just gonna put this away later, you know, that's when you're picking, you know, a little bit.
That's why 30 minutes later, they want you to drink.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Start drinking, that's right.
And so, yeah, right. So-
Calorie-free beverages, sorry.
Well, in my house, I usually don't end up putting things back in the refrigerator because I got 3 dogs.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So what I don't eat, they're there waiting with me my supper.
Exactly, yeah. They get plenty.
Go to
trust
Beth's
me.
house.
Jenny, can I ask you a question? You probably know this better than anybody. I have bought about every bariatric book there is in Amazon. And I got 3 out of the 9 books says that in limited quantities, we can drink diet soda. You agree or not?
Well, we're always good about giving you the best advice, okay? We're always good. Number 1, some people have a lot of pain with that, with the carbonation. Some people don't, which I always say I think they pour it over ice, you know, and let the carbonation come out. The other thing is, look at your ingredients in diet soda. Nothing good in there. One of my major concerns is something called phosphoric acid, which is in almost all diet sodas. It's phosphorus, right? And when you have healthy bones, you need equal amounts of phosphorus and calcium, right? When you increase one, it's going to leach out the other to equalize, okay? So here you are, you're already at risk for bone disease as a bariatric patient, right? Do you want to couple that with drinking tons of phosphoric acid? I would say no. No?
My mom drank flat diet soda right after she had her surgery, and she's 73 now and she's having bone issues. Now she's also not been very good about taking her vitamins. Like, she's done it on and off for the 15 years that she had her surgery, but I would say with the thing she has going on now, she hasn't drank soda in about 3 years or 4 years, but she did for the previous 10. She would just let it go flat first. I think that she would rather that she had not. I mean, it's her story to tell, obviously, but she's having some major bone density issues.
I have to find something else to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a Diet Coke
Oh,
alcoholic.
I know.
On the subject of soda, I'm actually surprised how much because I was told they recommend I try not to drink soda carbonated for the rest of my life. So I plan from day one to significantly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't stopped, but I have significantly reduced my soda. But I'm surprised how much I don't miss soda. I allow myself to drink 2 sodas a month. And to put things into perspective, I used to drink 1 to 3 sodas a day.
Yeah, I used to drink 6 Diet Cokes a day.
And so something that still surprises me. I'm surprised how much I don't miss soda. I'm surprised.
Yeah. That's get used to what you give yourself, you know.
I quit before I had the surgery, and I know if I drink the first sip, I'm going to go back to 6 a day. And so that's what keeps me from doing it, because I know that
that's really good. Because I was thinking that's the next thing is what habit comes with it.
Right.
So Debbie, our other dietitian that was here previously, she used to say that too a lot of times, like what comes with your Diet Coke, right?
Right.
Like you bring that back in, and then what's to say that the chips don't come in with it, or the other habits that you have that were with that they don't come in, right? Because you allowed yourself that, and then you just keep allowing, right? And you don't really know where that line is to stop. And so
So is it the carbonation and pop, or can you like have like the sparkling waters?
It's still carbonated.
Still the carbonation is typically what bothers people.
And the carbonation sometimes can really hurt the stomach.
Yeah.
And cramp you and all this stuff. It does to me. I cannot do
I never drank pop anyway, so
I will say, if you insist, drink it slow. Make sure you drink it slow. Don't try to take big gulps. If you insist, you know.
Just really quickly before we leave, you know, and I think this is a topic on its own, is recognizing your own self-talk as you go on your journey. And we've kind of titled it here, Nourishing Self-Talk, and a little quote from a psychiatrist here about really evaluating, do you have positive self-talk or do you have negative self-talk? And we gave some examples down here. Negative self-talk, you know, well, I've only lost 10 pounds since my last appointment. Maybe something more positive, more nourishing, maybe might be, you know, I'm 10 pounds closer to my goal. I can't tell you how many people, when I walk in on that, I don't know, 8-week or 4-month, usually 8-week, and I'll say, that's really great, it's really great. And they'll go, really? Really? You really think so? But that goes back to that social media class that we had, you know, where somebody said they lost, 100 pounds at 8 weeks, right? You know, and so they're thinking their 20 pounds is not good, you know.
Well, everyone's got to understand, everybody loses weight at a different time level.
That's right.
No one is on the same clock or the same thing. So, where one person may drop pounds off like this, another one may take a year to get the same thing that another person got 6 months.
And that's why you can't compare.
You can't compare yourself
and
to
you
another
can't
person.
beat yourself up for that. What if, heaven forbid, you do have a couple cookies, or you eat donuts, or you eat that larger bag of chips over time, you know? It's so easy for those old thoughts of, I'm never going to be able to do this, here I go, I'm going down a bad path, or I blew it at lunch, I might as well, who cares, at dinner, you know? Again, the negativity, you've got to be able to look at it and say, without judgment, you know? And say, you know, I did eat that whole thing. And sometimes you might say, that was really good. You know, but you know what? How am I going to control it at dinner? Or I'm going to make sure I get that after dinner walk. Or tomorrow I'm going to do better about planning my meals because I didn't do better today and I went to the vending machine.
What pair of jean cutoffs am I going to put on to remind myself not to do it again today?
There you go.
I mean, honestly, right? There's all kinds of things that we can do to
But
help us get
something
back on track.
more positive than beating yourself up, because that negativity just multiplies.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of this, you talk about everybody has their own journey. The beauty of a support group is seeing other people's journeys.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and recognizing that mine's different than yours, and you know what I mean? So we talked about this today.
Yeah, but what I like about these meetings is when I come here, I feel good about my progress, about myself,
Yes.
because I feel like, okay, I'm not the only one in the boat. I'm not the only one who's maybe had a problem, or maybe I snacked too much one day, or did something wrong one day. I'm like,
Yeah. I think that's the important part about this too, is like recognizing that negative self-talk. My mom had surgery 20 years ago, and everything that she says, I swear, I tell her, I'm like, Mom, that's the most pessimistic way to look at that. How could you spin that, right? She said something the other day, and she's like, "Yeah, I just don't know how that's gonna go." Why don't you know how that's gonna go? Do you have a reason to be pessimistic about that? But it's just a way that, like, her brain has worked for so long, and it's such a vicious cycle because when she feels like that, food is the coping mechanism, right?
That's right.
And so you have to really stop yourself and kind of catch that thought, right? Like, you've got to really catch it, and then you've got to work on spinning it. Because again, it's like your journey. It's not just going to change overnight. You're not just going to look at this paper and say, "Oh, well, yeah, I'll change the way I said that," right? Your first reaction is going to be what you do, what you tend to do, right? Maybe it's that negative self-talk, but you have to literally catch the thought and then spin the thought.
And you all do, many of you do that with your children, right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of us have adult children, and we have to learn to keep our mouths shut. You know, you do that with others, but sometimes it's hard to do it with yourself. You know?
Something I learned several years ago, many years ago, in fact, that I just keep at the back of my mind in comparing with others. Like, you come in and say, you know, so somebody lost a pound. Well, I only lost a quarter of a pound. Yeah. And then you start thinking negatively. Turn it around by thinking, well, you know, that's a stick of butter off of my thigh.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of it that way, and I've never forgotten that. So compare your quarter pound to someone's pound by, well, there's a stick of butter off of my thigh.
Yeah.
So
It's good. It's good.
you know, it's just a different way of thinking about it.
Sure. Yeah. I think that has a lot to do with it too, is the way you look at it.
Yeah.
Because that's the way you're going to react.
Very good. Other thoughts? Any other thoughts?
Another thing that I think that we don't do is that because we feel like we should be eating a certain way or we should be eating certain foods, we don't ever congratulate ourselves for when we do the right thing.
Sure.
When we're eating, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to my husband about this today because I was having a decaf coffee, and I use protein shakes in my decaf coffee for the creamer, you know. And he was like, "Is that all you're gonna have for breakfast?" And I said, "Yeah, you know, I would just want to get back on track since we were gone and stuff." And I did great with my eating, but it was still stuff that I wouldn't normally eat. And, you know, I don't eat steak and grits every day at home, and you know, regardless of the amount. And he was like, "That's great. You should feel good about that." And I thought to myself, you know what? He's right. And I never even really thought twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I had gotten up with that intention and eaten something else instead, I sure would have said to myself, "You weren't going to do that. You had this plan and you're
Right.
not following it." But that's the thing that I'm trying to learn now, is to also give myself credit when I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like going, you know what? I got that. I did that, and now I'm moving on with the rest of my day because I just need it. You know, I need to give that positive, because it's not my nature to have that positive talk
It
with
doesn't always
myself.
have to be a trudge, you know?
Right.
It doesn't always have
So
to be.
I like that in journaling too.
Yeah.
Like, if people take it's like, food journaling is not what everyone wants to do. I get that, but it does help. But journaling, just in general, right?
Yeah.
Like your thoughts, right? And so you get to you get to capture those thoughts, but you also get to write things like that, those
Right.
victories, right? And
Yeah.
So I think that's an important piece too, especially on a day where you're having a hard day, right? And it feels
Got
like
it.
you're down and out, and you need to look back at some of the things that you thought previously, you know. So I
But
think that's
again, you're
helpful.
very much like that with other people. Yeah. That's why I like being around you. You know, you're
So
very
I
positive,
can
you're very
understand the carbonated beverages to stay away. But why not caffeinated coffee? What does that do?
Caffeine initially really upsets your stomach mucosa, you know. Another thing is going back to the ands, you know, a little bit of
Having
sugar, a
some
little bit of sweetened
Yeah.
creamer, you know, and the cookies that go with that, you know, or the donut that goes with
Okay,
that.
so there's no cookies, there's no creamer, there's just black coffee with 2 equals.
Yeah. I don't know, then that's something you gotta decide down
And
the
if
road.
it
Could you
doesn't
do that?
upset me, I could do it.
You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing that? I thought the caffeine though had a tendency to dehydrate you, so that's why they're.
It can, especially more so early on. I would say than anything, more of a diuretic effect. But I have people that drink coffee afterwards sometimes, and it doesn't bother them, and so they do it, and that's up to them. But again, that's your journey, right? A lot of times it would be more of a stomach irritant than anything for people, but it's also yes, what comes with it sometimes.
Have you experienced dumping yet?
Where you eat something that really makes you feel horrible and makes you.
No, but my biggest thing is I found I can play right on the edge, and that's probably why I'm stuck. Because my first 4 weeks were a lot easier than 8 weeks out. Now I can eat what everybody else eats, but I am eating too much again.
Yeah,
So
because that's how you're used to living. That's how we all live, right? Either where we can
I
live
haven't
as
done
fat
the fast
people
food
and on
thing
the,
yet, and
on a
I'm
diet.
staying away from that. But
Yeah.
and when he talked about pizza, it's like, oh, I don't even want to hear it. Pizza and Diet Coke, man, that was it. But
Very good. I think the first time you go through dumping, I think the first time you experience dumping, you'll understand.
Oh,
It's not fun.
It's bad.
Not fun at all.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
So when I first got the surgery, I could not do protein shakes. I still struggle with protein shakes. It doesn't matter if I blend it. So what I'm trying to figure out at this point is how can I make sure I'm doing a lot of soft meats and stuff like that to make sure that I can get my protein intake in. But how am I able to get the protein shake in? Or is it okay if I just do more of the meat than the protein if I can't get the protein
Yeah,
shake in?
absolutely. I think if you're weighing out your meat, 1 ounce of a protein or 1 ounce of meat is about 7 grams of protein. So theoretically, if you stretch that to 3 meals, that's 3 ounces of meat per meal, and that's not even including like a snack in between.
Right.
And that gets you to what 63 grams at that point.
Okay.
So it's definitely doable if you can get that in throughout the day and not even supplement a protein.
Are you blending your protein shakes or do you buy them?
I was doing the Premier Shakes way before surgery, and I found a couple that I could tolerate before surgery, which was really good because I enjoyed them. I even got a couple family members on them and things like that. But after surgery, I'm like, it doesn't do good.
Have you tried Fairlife?
No.
Those are
Fairlife does
those are
real
the
good on my
best.
stomach.
Okay.
And it has 30 grams of protein in it. And it's actually the most mildest one I have found in my stomach.
yeah, they're lactose.
But
You can use an unflavored protein and stir it into like
I like
tea
that.
or
Okay.
juices.
Okay, I like it. I tried to start making it. But I like it.
Very good.
It's like,
All right.
it tastes like a milk
Well,
shake.
it is a little over past 7, so we're gonna close this up. But thank y'all for coming, especially all of y'all that come regularly and the new people. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be here the first Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock. Okay. Next one is October 6th, I think. 4th. Sorry, October 4th, and we're gonna talk about preparing for the holidays. Okay. All right. Careful with the extension cord.